Hey everybody, Motorpoet 59 here. Talk a little bit about this formula shortage. I didn't know much about it. I haven't had a baby that used formula since my oldest daughter was born in 1982. So I was ignorant of all of this. But watching on Facebook and some stuff on YouTube, I don't really watch a lot of news stuff on YouTube, but the theories abound about why we have a shortage. Most of the people who are talking about this, after I dug into it, don't know what they're talking about on either side. So what I am going to talk about, a lot of people blame Biden for the shortage, and while his administration is certainly part of what's going on now, he had nothing to do with the original issues that caused the shortage to begin and not be able, and cause a company to never be able to get caught up to this day. During the 2000s, demand for formula declined by a significant number. People were having fewer children. Mothers were more, breastfeeding became a big deal, and more people were doing that, and so they just didn't need as much formula. So the company, which is called Abbott Nutrition, which is the biggest supplier of formula in the United States, not the only one, but the biggest one, cut their production of it back. Why? They didn't need it. And since 2007, the use of formula, the rates at which formula have been used, have remained pretty much the same. Well, when the pandemic came along and people started hoarding things, like idiots always do, one of the products that was hoarded during the pandemic was formula. And this is powdered formula. I think during the pandemic it affected everything. But what's going on right now is with the powdered formula, not with the liquid formula that's pre-made or anything. This is all about powdered formula. The demand for formula, once it was all gone from people hoarding it, obviously the demand for it went back up from everybody who didn't get in on the hoarding. And Abbott Nutrition was never able to get caught up. They ramped up their production, but there's only so much you can do. If you have a factory, it is tooled for a maximum amount of whatever it is you produce. It doesn't matter whether it's widgets or formula. They can't just all of a sudden expand a plant to compensate for a product that may not be needed in those quantities even in the near future. So they did what they could do, but they didn't get caught up. Then in July 2021, when costs started to jump up because of inflation, which is definitely because of decisions and policies of the Biden administration, there was another run on formula, and people began hoarding it again. Then in February of this year, of 2022, Abbott Nutrition recalled, the powders only, recalled all of their products, which are, I had them written down here, I thought, I don't. I know that Similac is one of them. It doesn't matter. And there are different kinds of formulas, and the ones that were for metabolic problems were not included in this recall. And but anyway, they recalled everything with an expiration date before April of 2022. And they shut the plant down, and there was an issue with infectious diseases, salmonella, and the other one I can't remember, but these were issues, so they closed the entire plant down, completely stopped production. They still had another plant. This one was in Michigan, and they were still producing at their other plant, but obviously it's not enough. And they plan on reopening that plant on June 3rd. So supply will start to pick up and things will start to normalize again. So I I hope people calm down a little bit and start trying to be a part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Um, One of the other things is that their European plants, these companies in Europe who don't have these issues, offered to send and were sending formula to the United States. And here's where the second wrench was thrown in the gears from the Biden administration. The FDA put a halt to European imports. Why? Because the instructions weren't in English, and people don't know the difference between metric and U.S. measurements. It is ridiculous. What the government could have done, instead of printing money we don't have, they could have printed instructions in English for this stuff and sent them out with that, made them available on the internet, whatever they needed to do to help fix the problem. But they didn't do that, and the Democrats still don't think that Americans are smart enough to figure out how to convert milliliters into ounces. It's even if you don't know the formula, we have Google. The government is all about the internet spreading their agenda, but when it comes to helping fix a problem, they don't want the internet involved. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. The Biden administration certainly has its fingers in this pie, but they certainly didn't cause the original shortage of formula that happened on Donald Trump's watch, but it had nothing to do with Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe something could have been done back then to slow things down, but the place just never had the chance to catch back up. And now some stores, and I think this is probably what Walmart's doing, the one by my house anyway, is they're rationing how much formula people can buy. You can't just go in there and buy what's on the shelf. You can, they were doing that with products during the pandemic. I remember going, and you could only buy two kinds of, you could buy some chicken and some beef, but you couldn't buy 2 chickens and 2 beef. You could only buy 2 packages of meat. You could only buy a certain amount of toilet paper or whatever. And it's sad that had to happen, but it did happen, and that was what started the formula shortage to begin with. How do you feel about all that? Did you know all this? Were you just listening to people complain, or did you actually look into what the problems are? Because that's what we should always do. Instead of just flying off the handle, it's like people showing pictures. I'm furious. Look at these shelves in Mexico. Mexico has a different supply chain than the United States, and they have a different government. This is not an issue anywhere but in America, and we created it ourselves starting during, as I said, during the pandemic, and then allowing Joe Biden to be elected and continuing to support idiotic regulations by the Food and Drug Administration. This problem could have been eased at the very least by our friends in Europe if our enemies in Washington would have let it happen. Anyway, what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motopoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. I'll see you all later.